Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel and my latest video that I'm uploading. Now this is Rosie, this is the full finished portrait of Rosie and she's the result of an 18 or 19 hour long pet portrait course that I've done. It's available on my website, but here I'm just showing you a snippet of it where we're working on Rosie's ear, her left ear, and I'm taking you through the layering process that I use for spaniel ears. I say spaniel, I mean she's a golden retriever cross, but we think there's a bit of spaniel and setter mixed in there as well. And hopefully you'll find it useful because they are quite difficult. You know, all those little curls, it's useful to know what you would do and how you layer it up, how you work from the base layer up to the sort of final detailed layer. So I hope you find it useful. If you like the style of my teaching, as I say, the full tutorial is available on my website and the link will be in the comments. Thank you.
So with ears, they are quite a difficult area to do, especially sort of like spaniel type ears, although Rosie's sort of golden retriever. She's got a lot of sort of spaniel aspects to her. Obviously, to take a good look at it and try and sort of get the general sort of feel for it. But obviously with the little outline that we did here, we created some shapes. So the thing that I would recommend more than anything else is to zoom right into one small little area. So we're going to be working in on this area. In fact, I might just zoom in. So looking at some of the darker areas that are just at the top here, quite a good sort of strong colour to go in to start with is a burnt sienna. Just to sort of create, you've got sort of like a slightly darker area in here, a slightly darker area in there. This little hair that's coming across here is quite a good area to sort of get so we can kind of work out what's where. And then we've got a little bit here, so I'm just going to define this section here so I kind of know, a bit like everything, I always say we do a fact-finding mission to start with. Let's work out what we know to be true. Let's work out what should go where. So we've got some in there. Let's just get the outline in a little bit more. I can see it there, but it probably helps visually to be able to see it like that. Okay, so looking at the first and foremost, looking at some of the marks that are made sort of between the fur, okay, because we all know that the top hairs, you know, we can swish certain top hairs, but we want to look at what's lying underneath first and foremost. And again, the biggest tip that I can give you is to work you know, on a very, very small area at any one time, because then you can really zoom in with your reference photo and really work out what's there and what isn't, because sometimes your eye does sort of play tricks on you. So the first pencil that I'm going to go for is the 280. So this is a sort of a dark browny yellow. This is the, I believe it's called the raw umber. Again, raw umber is a colour that I use an awful lot in animal portraits right across all the mediums. And I'm just going to pop a couple of little bits in there. You need to take a deep breath for doing this because it's not the easiest section. I can just see a little bit of, I'm going over that burnt sienna because it was a little bit too red, but we'll probably pop some back in a moment. I'm not too fussed about this being super realistic on the ears because I want the realism to come from her face. I'm quite happy to sort of make it a bit loose. I mean, in the photo itself, it's a little bit looser. We just want to create a couple of little depthy bits, a couple of little bits that sit underneath everything else. And it looks like this here is a little sort of shape, dark shape. You can play with it. As long as you're working quite gently, you can always tweak things as you need to. So that was the 280, and it was the burnt sienna that I kind of used for some of the little shapes. The burnt sienna again is like that really sort of lovely rich colour. It will be different in different brands, but a really lovely sort of rich red, rich browny red. And this was a browny yellow. So again, you know, looking at Rosie's colourings, she's a mixture of yellows and reds, and trying to get that balance right can be quite challenging. So just as we're looking at sort of like the creams and the brighter yellows and the sort of the more terracotta-y colours in her actual fur, when we start to do the shadow areas, it's exactly the same but on a deeper level. So, you know, you've got your burnt siennas for your darks, your 177s, which are your walnut browns for some of your dark areas, and then you sort of up from there, you're looking at this raw umber, which is the 280 from Faber-Castell, which is a real browny yellow. And these are all the colours that you're sort of looking at to sit on the base. Okay, so I think I'm going to pop just a couple of little strokes in there where I can see some shapes. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up a level with the yellows. I've got the 183 here, which is a real yellow ochre colour. It's the colour that we used on her fur as well. It's a really nice nice colour. You could, you know, you've got various different colours that are all fairly similar. So you've got the Stabilos, they're all sort of different variants of yellow ochres and sort of like Naples and ochres generally. They're sort of muddy yellows really. But I'm going to go with the Faber-Castell yellow because it's got quite a nice brightness to it. We'll see if that works. And it does look quite yellowy going down, but we're going to knock that back when we start to use some creams on top. I'm just going to give everything a very, very light coating in it, to be honest. You know, this part of her hair is very creamy and it's got some reds in, so this is just to give it a tint. I've got the 186 here, which is a nice terracotta colour. That's sort of like a reddy orange, but not too orange. I'm going to go over it with this as well. At the moment, all I'm doing is creating a bit of a base layer. A base layer because we're not looking at any individual hairs at the moment. We've looked at some of the shapes, we've got some of the darks in. Now all we want is to sort of create a bit of a base that we can then work out from thereafter. Okay, so that was a mixture of the muted yellows and a bit of a tint of red as well. That's quite a nice base layer. Okay, so I'm now going to use the cotton bud because it's early days with it. I don't mind it all sort of mixing in, swishing around, really getting into those tiny little grooves that are on the pastel mat. In there. Okay. So that's a really nice sort of soft effect. I quite like that. And as I say, it's very different from the reference photo. So the reference photo, you can, when you're looking at it, you're thinking, oh, hold on a minute, she's done a really dark colour there. And actually, the reference photo is beautiful, light, creamy blonde blonde hair. But this is a base layer. Okay, so this then sets us up for what we want to do thereafter. Okay, so I am going to now start to sort of put a few little details in just so it starts to look a bit more like an ear. So I'm using this cream, which is the 103, and use any sort of cream. You could even use white because it will then you can then sort of push it in. And I'm literally just looking at the hairs. You don't have to draw every single hair absolutely exact because she'd only need to sneeze and all her hair would move. So don't beat yourself up to get it absolutely right. Just get the feel for it. So At the moment, I'm not going for very, very fine strokes of hair because it's too early a stage. I'm looking for sort of like little fat chunks of hair, really. Kind of got some that go like that. Let's have a look. Got some in there. So I'm happy with the fact that at the moment my pencil is quite blunt and it's just making little sort of, it's making chunkier marks than we will have on the top. Okay, so that's just sort of creating a little bit of feel, and I'm going to give her, it a little bit of personality while it's there, because I know her hair flicks all over the place. Okay, so we're starting to get a bit of difference. I would call this sort of like my texturizing layer. So I'm going to use a fresh paper stump and I'm just going to push it all in again. Okay, so we're starting to get a little bit of difference. It's not as light as it needs to be, but it's got some depth and it's starting to sort of get a little bit of shape. It doesn't help the fact that it was quite a windy day, so it is kind of all going all over the place, but that's half the fun. Okay, so I'm now going to start creating a little bit of difference with it, a little bit of details. So I am using a white pencil and I'm going slightly firmer. And I'm going to just pop a couple of sort of slightly finer lines, because what's happening with those finer lines is they're sitting on the fatter lines that we just did a minute ago, and then it just creates that depth. Because you don't want everything to all be of the same sort of value. You know, basically the hairs that are sitting the highest up, the closest to the sun, are gonna look lighter. Okay, and I'm just popping some of those in. I'm gonna give it a bit of character. Just pop a couple of little flicks of hair. Okay. It's starting to take shape. I think it needs a few more colours in there now. I think we're going to pop some reds in. I'm going to go for the 675 by Stabila Carbothello, but equally you can use any sort of terracotta, orangey, reddy sort of colour, basically the colours that we're using in her coat. And I'm just going to pop back a couple of nice little, not too much, don't overdo it, but it was looking just really quite sort of yellow, brown and cream. And actually, I think we could do with a bit of red in there. It does look different at in different lights, obviously. Okay, so that's sort of just added a tiny little hint of something a bit different. Let's pop a bit more in there. We can always knock it back if we need to. Okay. Let's try with a couple of a little bit of grey. This is the 270. It's just rather than being really super bright like the white, it's just sort of one back from that. Let's just try popping a couple of little hairy bits in, just gently. We're going to flick a couple of random hairs across as well. That's quite a nice area because you've got quite a lot of depth up here. So to flick a couple of nice little hairy bits over it will have quite a nice sort of 3D effect. We have actually created a little bit of a milkiness in this area, so I might just deepen that a bit with a combination of a nice sort of dark brown, which is the 177 that I'm using. Because obviously when a lot of creamy white pastel flies around the room, it's only natural that it kind of has to find somewhere to land. And sometimes it does land on your darks, so you will have to go over them every now and again. So I'm just popping those in quite gently with my little paper stump, so that it just sort of creates that darkness. And just looking at some of the fur that's coming out from her face there, I'm just going to give it a little lift with this 675, this nice orangey colour, orangey red. Because just like I've said before, we do want it to, to look quite vibrant when it's coming out of darkness. Out of darkness comes great vibrancy. Okay, and then equally, just at the top here, we've got a couple of darker areas that we've sort of missed. Let's pop those in. And we could look at our ear now and say, actually, do you know what, we just want a couple of tiny little dark bits to add this depth. You know, when you look at a piece that has lots of difference, it has lots of sort of tiny little dark bits, lots of tiny little light bits, that's what creates something that really pops. And it doesn't come from just doing bang, 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 that's it, we've done this colour, that colour, and then that's it done. It comes from adjusting and going back in and being prepared to sort of tweak and work things. Okay, let's... I'm going to use a fresh paper stump. And I'm just being a bit more gentle now with my paper stump. I'm not sort of scrubbing it everywhere like I was before. I kind of want it to sit there. I don't mind using my cotton bud. Normally, when I've got quite a bit of pastel there, I would probably sort of be using either the paper stump or the little silicone tool that I use. But we do actually, I'm quite happy for this part of the ear to be softly out of focus. And this, forget the name of it, not the paper stump, cotton bud. This cotton bud will make something look out of focus. It will blend it nicely. Okay, so I think we do need to now go back in and get a couple of nice lights, because obviously the light is really hitting her lovely blonde hair here. So we do need to, and I'm going to do a couple of sort of heavy strokes with the white, just so we're really kind of lifting out. And it looks a little bit brighter on screen than it actually does in real life. So hopefully I'll be able to reflect that with the work in progress pics, just because we've got quite a lot of light shining on it. It's probably a bit more realistic like that. Okay. And you'll notice that the little light bits that I'm doing are, they're still sort of bobbling over the surface a little bit. So we will need to, you can leave them like that, a lot of people do, but I quite like to go over them, push them in. So I probably will use my silicone tool now, make sure it's clean, and then just gently stroking it in. We don't want to mix too much with the other colours, so you know, you can use sort of a towel to wipe it on in between, or your clothes if you're not fussy. Just if you just concentrate on the light bits that you've just done, then it'll pick up a little bit of the colours around it, but hopefully not too much, because you do really want to sort of create that difference now. Okay, so that's really pushing in now. I'm just going to go back over it again with the white, and just I might sharpen my white, give that make it even sharper. That's a fairly nice sharp point, and I'm just going to do a couple of tiny little hairs across here. And at this stage I am actually looking at my painting a little bit more than the reference photo even, because you know it comes to the point where you do actually just want it to look good. You use the reference photo to a certain point to make sure you're going correctly, but at some stage you do just want to sort of make it look aesthetic as well. Okay, just a couple of bits there, and I'm just going to while I've got the white pencil in my hand, just pop a couple of little difference. The other thing to mention is obviously when it sits, you know, if you put a piece of glassine over it to protect it when you're not working on it, you'll find the glassine will just press everything in a little bit, and the pastel also just settles on the pastel mat for a bit, and it kind of pushes everything in. So you do, at the end of your painting, you do need to sort of go back in and recreate some of the beautiful marks that you'd made before that have got a bit squashed. Okay. I'm afraid I can't show you a quick way to do portraits. Mine do take quite a while, but it's worth it and it's great fun. I'm just using the white at the moment because there's so many other colours on there. It's not coming out pure white anyway. And then you've got some other little curly bits, haven't you? You've got some, you know, the hair, the wind is pushing, or she's got little sort of wrinkles. They almost look like crimps. So let's push that in there. So it's just creating that effect of the wind ruffling her hair.